Community Radio Live from Chicago. Welcome to this edition of the Community News. We will be receiving Mr. Cedrick Balou in this news broadcast. Cedrick Balou, who is the president of the Youth Collective of Congo and the diaspora, a committed voice who will share his experience, his struggle, justice and poverty. We will tackle hot topics of concern, the Congolese society, but first we will focus on his arrest, the conditions of his release on the 11th of October, last April, but we will also talk on health, access to water, electricity, fighting the cost of living in Comoros notice. In short, the troubles faced by Congolese in Ivory Coast. Well, on this topic, the young people we had planned a set of specifications to submit to the government. This was not possible this time since the person concerned was arrested, but we have some doubts about achieving what the task involves when we know that this government is a government that lacks efficiency. Stay with us for the rest of this program. So, Mr. Ballot, as I said in my introduction to this program, you were finally released after surely some interventions, as you mentioned in your post, your audio after your release, that you were taken from office to office. Can you tell us about this ordeal you went through?
Yes, ordeal, that's the right word, because we launched our call for the March 11th walk. And when the date arrived, it was planned for us to go to the place where other young people were waiting for us so we could start our walk. Unfortunately, we have been infiltrated by youth who were not involved in the march preparations. He wanted to join us today to go to the march with us. Being young, and especially since I knew him, I couldn't imagine he could set me up like that. Not knowing he was a police tip-off, we went together not knowing that already at the roundabout where I should live, because the whole area where I live had been cordoned off by the police. So wherever I could go out, I would have to be caught. Luckily for me, I did not exit through the roundabout because we had a meeting point with other friends where we all had to gather, the leaders of the group. So we could start heading to the Mongali roundabout. And while I was walking with them, I did not know they were gathering information. At the same time, the police, and as soon as we stepped onto the asphalt, a police car came to block my way. And the armored men got, that's the point. They ready their weapons and me, picking up the phone, asking me to get in the vehicle. I went up and they laid me down so I wouldn't be visible. And that's what they were saying themselves, that it was necessary to cover me in such a way that I wouldn't be seen by the public. That's what was done. And from there, they took me to the Philo police station. Like that, since when? I went to see the colonel. Well, I don't know his name, but he's the boss of the Liver area. This means we are giving the PSP plateau itself. But
Coordinates the PSP plateau police station. The one in Mankonto and the one in Philo.
So from there, I met him, started my first series of interrogations. And from there, we headed to the back center. I went to meet all the high-ranking police officers who were waiting for me there. Well, one thing needs to be said. I was not manhandled. It has to be acknowledged. I wasn't manhandled. From there, I was interviewed again. I gave my statement for about 2 to 3 hours. He's a colonel who took my statement at the Central Police Station. Was taken to the Police Force Command, the General Directorate of Police, where General Obami's son was waiting for us. And he went more in the direction of giving advice, asking us to obey the law. And the Central Police Station, we went down to the level of the General Intelligence Command of the police. where I was interrogated again for about 2 to 3 hours. And from there, I was taken back to the central police station. From the central station, they dropped me off at the 15-year police station where 2 association members were called, and I was made available to them as if to introduce me. We're handing him over as we got him. We didn't mistreat him. We're making him available to you. So that's a bit of the ordeal I've been through. April 11th. But
I
this
don't
is
know.
not an arrest. It's not a questioning. To me, this is a kidnapping. I was kidnapped.
So, what are you being accused of? What could they have noted in the report from your hearing?
Initially, they talked about incitement to hatred, incitement to rebellion. That's what had been recorded.
So, I remind you that the community is invited. Mr. Castellan Cedrick Balou, you remember, who was arrested on the 11th last and transported to several offices, as I mentioned at the beginning. Question. So, Castella, let's go back to that mole you were talking about. What are the signs exactly that lead you to say that this man, this friend, who would have infiltrated your office that day?
Yes, well, but that was once I got out, because there is a certain number of the activists with me who know this boy well, knowing he collaborates with, he's a snitch from the Philo police station. He works with the Philo commissioner, and his role, he's not a police officer, but he informs the police about certain facts. And when someone needs to be picked up, when someone needs to be arrested, it's him who informs the police.
That's it. So once in these police stations, in these offices, you have, it looks like a special prisoner. Why all these arrangements? Because you are talking about the director of, from the police at the same chokehold. Was it worth meeting all these authorities?
Well, I do not know why I was taken from office to office, but I also do not see why I was arrested. Yes, why I was taken. For me, it's a normal act in line with our country's constitution, so I don't see why I could have been arrested. So, not knowing why I was arrested, I can't understand why I was wandering from office to office.
So I see that during this arrest, the group has he remained mobilized? Have there been people from your ranks who went to these police stations, or did the protest happen? Such justice just faded.
Indeed, when they realized I had been taken by the police, but comrades, we have to call them that because we call each other comrades, since what's true is we do come from political backgrounds. My friends did not stop. They stayed mobilized. The group went from station to try to find out exactly where I had been placed. For everyone who could come to the central, it was clearly stated that I wasn't there. My location was very difficult to find. It was only in the end, when I was taken to the Plateau police station, that I had a chance to integrate. It's there they finally found out where I was, because I was the one who called them so they could come and pick me up. So my location was difficult anyway, because wherever they could go, they were not exactly told where I was. That's why I'm talking about kidnapping.
Did you receive advice from Mr. Obama and everyone's son? I was going to try to reverse the illness.
Yes, but precisely, there is nothing to hide. It was made clear to us that if the police are outside, it's simply because we received a refusal from the prefecture. And them ensuring the protection of people and public property, thus could not allow our march following this refusal. And we have urged to respect the law, so that when we have a refusal, we can submit the same document a second time to ask for authorization again, or use the appeal processes. So that's pretty much the angle he took.
The reason for the refusal is that your demonstration was disturbing public order. Is that it?
I have the document from the
now?
prefecture reflection. Yes, it's here. I'll read it. Object acknowledged, Mr. President. Better reaction to your letter received on the 22nd of March, 2024, because we wrote them on the 22nd of March, 2024, but they only received us on the 9th of April. 2 days away, 48 hours from the march by which you requested permission for a march. Tell us a break on April 11th, 2024, starting at 9 o'clock. Let's consider this march inappropriate and unfounded. So they decided our march was inappropriate and unfounded. I regret to inform that your request cannot be granted to possibly prevent disturbances to public order. That's it.
So, can we now literally move on to your demands, Cedric? First, before we get to these demands, I would like to make a comment on the confusion that there was between what Mash and the public outcry there in Brazzaville and throughout the diaspora about the land ceded to Rwanda by the Congolese government through act signed by Mr. Christel Denis Sassoon and the president himself. So tell us, was this march aimed at condemn this action by the Congolese government?
But the main goal of this march was youth demands, including jobs for young people. And so we marched because the Congolese youth as a whole, but that is those at the local level and those from the diaspora, we have established a program for the youth, which we call Vision 2030, a management initiation program for the youth. So this march aimed to officially submit this plan to the Prime Minister. Well, still, we could also claim this issue that is currently making headlines about the land cession to Rwandans. I don't speak much on that because for me that act is illegal. A land transfer not following the law cannot be recognized. To us, it's nonsensical. Before proceeding with the land cession, the EU president should have consulted people through a referendum. And since that action was not taken, the Congolese cannot consider that the lands were sold.
That's a somewhat clearer stance. So now let's go back to your list of demands. What are you claiming? The end? Who should you exactly? The scope of these claims. I want to be somewhat educational, maybe read a document so that we can truly understand what you're searching for.
Yes, Mr. Jean-Louis, it's a vast document. It's a vast program of...
We won't have time to develop that fully, but the broad strokes, because the issues with UNES, we know the economic issues in general. Can you give us a brief overview of these problems?
Okay. The Vision 2030 program, a management initiation program for the youth, is a broad and ambitious program that takes into account the needs of the youth. I'll give you an overview because this program has 11 components. And I'm going to read you the session components so you can try to understand a bit the greatness of the size of this program. So in this program, we take into account issues of education, quality, and vocational training. That's the first component. We're also talking about job stimulation and entrepreneurship. That's the second component. We also talk about improving access to health services. We talk about promoting civic engagement and leadership because we've realized that Congolese no longer love their country. We can't understand why Congolese massively embezzle, and yet they do so without caring about their country and their people. So we also promote social inclusion and equity. We're improving infrastructure and public spaces. We're fighting against crime and juvenile delinquency because we want to eradicate the phenomenon of juvenile delinquency known as black babies. We are working on the development of rural areas. We promote indigenous youth. We provide access to clean water. in renewable electricity and